Welcome to Module ACC WR 3.2, titled Concision. In the writing section of the Accuplacer, concision is frequently the most misunderstood skill. Many students believe that academic writing means using as many words as possible to sound intelligent or sophisticated. On the Accuplacer, the exact opposite is true. Concision is the art of expressing an idea with the fewest words possible without losing the original meaning or grammatical correctness. To achieve a top-tier score, you must adopt the law of verbal economy, which states that any word that does not add new information is a burden to the reader and a penalty to your score. On the exam, you will encounter questions that ask, which choice most effectively combines the sentences? Or, which choice is the most concise revision of the underlined portion? When you see these, your default setting should be to look for the shortest answer. Statistically, the shortest answer on an Accuplacer writing question is correct about 80% of the time. However, to join the top 1% of scorers, you must understand the 20% of cases where the shortest answer is a trap. We will deconstruct the mechanics of concision into 5 specific categories: redundancy, wordy phrases, nominalization, expletive constructions, and passive voice. The first category is redundancy, often called the echo trap. This occurs when a writer uses 2 or more words that mean the exact same thing. In common speech, we do this for emphasis, but in academic writing, it is a stylistic error. The test makers will provide a sentence that sounds perfectly normal but contains a hidden echo. Listen to this example. The committee reached a consensus of opinion about the future upcoming project. To the untrained ear, that sentence is fine, but a top-tier editor hears 3 redundant errors. First, a consensus is already an agreement of opinion, so saying consensus of opinion is like saying an agreement of agreement. Second, a project is by definition something that happens in the future, so future project is redundant. Third, future and upcoming mean the same thing. The concise, high-score version of that sentence is simply, the committee reached a consensus about the upcoming project. Other common echoes to listen for on Tuesday include basic fundamentals, past history, added bonus, end result, sudden impulse, revert back, and sum total. If you see an answer choice that uses 2 words where one will do, eliminate it immediately. The test makers are checking to see if you can spot these double meanings. The second category is the filler phrase trap. These are groups of words that act like a single word but take up much more space. Academic writers often use these because they think they sound more formal. Your job is to translate these long phrases back into their lean, single-word equivalents. Consider these translations for your audio learning. Instead of at this point in time, use now. Instead of due to the fact that, use because. Instead of in the event that, use if. Instead of in order to, use to. Instead of a large number of, use many. Instead of conduct an investigation into, use investigate. Instead of in the near future, use soon. Instead of has the ability to, use can. On the test, you might see a sentence like, due to the fact that it was raining, the game was postponed in order to ensure the safety of the players. This is a cluttered sentence. The concise version is, because it was raining, the game was postponed to ensure player safety. By removing the filler phrases, you make the logic of the sentence hit the reader's brain much faster. The third category is nominalization, which I call the verb-to-noun trap. This is a high-level error where a writer takes a perfectly good, active verb and turns it into a heavy, clunky noun. This usually requires adding helper words to make the sentence work, which increases the word count and slows the pace. For example, compare these 2 sentences. Sentence A, the manager made a decision to provide a replacement for the defective part. Sentence B, the manager decided to replace the defective part. Sentence A uses the nouns decision and replacement. To use those nouns, the writer had to add the weak verbs made and provide. Sentence B turns those nouns back into the active verbs decided and replace. Sentence B is shorter, stronger, and more professional. On the accuplacer, look for words ending in tion, meant, or ance. These are often nominalized verbs. If you can turn implementation back into implement, or assistance back into assist, you will find the more concise and correct answer. The fourth category involves expletive constructions. These are sentences that begin with there is, there are, or it is. While these are grammatically correct, they are often empty starters that puss. H the real subject of the sentence to the middle or the end. Listen to this example. There are many students who believe that the new policy is unfair. Now, listen to the concise version. Many students believe the new policy is unfair. The phrase there are and the word who were entirely unnecessary. They added 3 words to the sentence without adding a single ounce of meaning. When you are editing a passage on the test, look for these there is or it is starters. Usually, the best revision involves deleting the starter and beginning the sentence with the actual subject. The fifth category is passive voice versus active voice. In active voice, the subject performs the action. The chef prepared the meal. In passive voice, the subject receives the action. The meal was prepared by the chef. Passive voice is almost always longer because it requires the to-be verb like was or is and the word by. While passive voice is sometimes necessary in science writing to sound objective, the accuplacer generally prefers active voice because it is more concise and direct. If you are given a choice between the report was finished by the team and the team finished the report, choose the active version. It is shorter, cleaner, and more impactful. Now, let us discuss the sentence combination questions, which are the most common application of the Concision module. The test will give you 2 short, choppy sentences and ask for the most effective way to combine them. Sentence 1, the painting was old. Sentence 2, the painting was valuable. The trap answer will say, the painting was old and it was also valuable. A slightly better but still wordy answer will say, the painting was old, furthermore, it was valuable. The top-tier concise answer will say, the painting was old and valuable. By compressing the 2 sentences into one, you eliminate the need to repeat the subject, the painting, and the verb was. Whenever you are combining sentences, look for the option that uses appositives or participial phrases to tuck information into the main sentence rather than creating a whole new clause. For example, instead of Dr. Smith is a cardiologist, he spoke at the conference, use Dr. Smith, a cardiologist, spoke at the conference. This is the pinnacle of concision. However, we must discuss the meaning trap. This is the 20% exception I mentioned earlier. Sometimes, the shortest answer is not correct because it has accidentally deleted a necessary detail or changed the logic of the sentence. Suppose a sentence says, the doctor recommended that the patient take the medication twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. Choice A, the doctor recommended the medication twice a day. Choice B, the doctor recommended taking the medication in the morning and at night. Choice C, the doctor recommended a twice-daily medication schedule, specifically every morning and evening. Choice A is the shortest, but it has deleted the specific instruction about morning and night. If the original passage emphasizes the timing of the dose, choice A is too concise. It has lost meaning. Choice B is also shorter than the original, but it is missing the twice-a-day summary. Choice C is the most effective because it retains all the necessary information while removing the repetitive once in phrasing. You must ensure that the concise version you choose is a lossless compression of the original idea. Another nuance of concision is the which trap. Writers often use which or who clauses that can be shortened into simple adjectives. Instead of the car, which was red, sped away, use the red car sped away. Instead of the employee who was exhausted fell asleep, use the exhausted employee fell asleep. On the test, if you see a which or a who clause Ask yourself if you can turn that clause into a single adjective and place it before the noun. If you can, do it. It is more concise. Let us discuss the rhetorical concision of transitions. Sometimes, a writer will use a long transition when a short one is better. Instead of in spite of the fact that, use although. Instead of in a similar fashion, use similarly. Instead of it should be noted that, just delete the whole phrase and start with the fact. If something is important enough to be in the essay, the reader already knows it should be noted. You don't need to tell them. When you are taking the test next Tuesday, you should use a strategy I call the delete and reread method. When you are looking at a wordy sentence, mentally strike through the words you think are fluff. Then, read the sentence again without them. If the sentence still makes sense, stays formal, and tells the same story, the words you deleted were verbal waste. For example, the reason why the experiment failed was because the temperature was too high. Let's delete fluff. The experiment failed because the temperature was too high. Does it have the same meaning? Yes. Is it shorter? Yes. Is it more professional? Yes. That is the correct answer. As you finish this neighborhood on your route, think of Concision as packing a mail truck. You have a limited amount of space and a lot of mail to deliver. If you fill the truck with empty boxes and bubble wrap, fluff words, you won't have room for the actual letters, the meaning. A top-tier writer packs the truck so that every inch is occupied by actual information. To summarize the essential strategies for module ACC WR 3.2. First, favor the shortest answer, but always double-check that no essential meaning was lost. Second, eliminate echoes or redundancies like past history or consensus of opinion. Third, replace filler phrases like at this point in time with single words like now. Fourth, turn nominalized nouns back into active verbs, e.g., change, make a decision to decide. Fifth, remove expletive constructions like there is and it is to start the sentence with the actual subject. Sixth, prefer active voice over passive voice for a more direct and concise tone. Seventh, use appositives to combine sentences and eliminate repeated subjects and verbs. Eighth, shorten which, or who, clauses into simple adjectives placed before the noun. Ninth, delete meta-discourse phrases like, it is important to note that. By mastering Concision, you are demonstrating a high level of respect for your reader's time and a sharp, logical mind. You are showing that you can filter out the noise and focus on the signal. This is a key trait of successful college students and professional writers. This concludes our deep dive into module ACC WR 3.2. You are learning to write with a lean, powerful style. When you are ready to focus on the vibe and level of formality of your writing, our next target is module ACC WR 3.3, style and tone. Just say the word next when you are ready to proceed.